Hey, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you're doing fantastic. Dean Kulaweera here, your friend. Every week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. I go live right here in the place to be: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I'm going to actually activate Instagram as well. Let's see if anyone's tuning in from Instagram. But hey, welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in. And don't be shy. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comments. Looks like the broadcast is live right now. And what I'm going to be speaking about today, folks, is coping with that stress, that anxiety while you're job searching. This will inevitably happen, right? But how do you stay focused? Because most of you don't have the luxury of being able to take some time out or anything like that. You have to still push through and keep moving through with your job search while you're feeling this stress and anxiety. So I'm going to be sharing with you a quick tip today to help you folks out, to help you overcome that and get yourself, put yourself back in control of your situation, and again, persisting, right, pushing through in your job search. We got Amruta in the house. Amruta, good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got my friend Sneha here. Hey, Sneha, good to have you here as usual. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you're doing great. And feel free to let me know, folks, in the comments, how do you deal with stress, anxiety while you're job searching? Let me just activate Instagram here. And yeah, looks like, okay, good. Looks like we're live on Instagram. So shout out to everyone on Instagram. I was having some issues going live on Instagram for a couple of weeks, but looks like that's being fixed. So today I'm talking about dealing with stress and anxiety. How do you deal with stress and anxiety as you're pushing through and moving through in your job search, right? For those of you tuning in for the first time, welcome. Pleasure to meet you. Glad to have you in my network. And I hope that you being someone that follows my content, or you being someone in my network, if you're tuning in from Instagram, from LinkedIn, that I'm able to provide you with value that you can contribute to your job search. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, my name is Dean Kulaweera. So again, every week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, I come on here and I share with you tips, advice, strategies that you can apply to your job search, right? Practical, pragmatic tips and strategies. I don't talk about, the castles in the air, the feel good fluffy stuff. I don't cover that stuff, folks. I give it to you real, straight up, practical stuff that you can apply to your job search, based on my experiences, not just as a job seeker myself, but also based on my experiences working in the recruitment industry, the staffing industry as a recruiter, and sharing all that stuff I've experienced and what I've noticed, what I've observed on the front lines working as a recruiter. All right, so that's what I'm here to bring you with. Now, before I get started, just want to remind you folks, hey, hit me up with a like. Really appreciate any likes and also shares to your network. So anyone in your network dealing with stress, anxiety, and all that stuff will benefit from today's session as I share, all this stuff with you folks out there who are job searching, right? Shout out to everyone on Instagram. Looks like I have a couple of people on Instagram tuned in. So thanks so much for tuning in. Now, before I get started, I did want to give a quick announcement to all of you folks out there. I am back in the game. I'm back. I've started recruiting as well. So I'm definitely still doing job search coaching, but I'm also been building up the recruitment side of my business as well. So I have a couple of clients coming in. So I just wanted to quickly talk about some of the tech roles I'm currently recruiting on. So if you're in Toronto, you're in the Toronto area, Greater Toronto area for sure, and you're an IT professional, definitely want you to, reach out to me, introduce yourself, send me a direct message, folks. Send me a direct message, introduce yourself. Let me know a bit about yourself, because I'm going to be starting and kickstarting the recruitment side of my business as well. All right. So right now, what I'm working on is I have a client who's in the Greater Toronto area, and what they're looking for is a manager of services delivery. So let me just quickly pull up the little graphic that I designed. Well, not really designed, but something for you to have more information. But basically, I'm recruiting for a manager of service delivery who has experience in a professional services environment, right? IT professional services, and managing a team of professional services consultants, technical consultants, right? So basically, this is someone who's worked in service delivery maybe as a manager, maybe as a team lead, someone who has experience managing a team of technical resources, right? So this is right now, the position is 100% remote during COVID-19, but after everything settles down and things open up, there is an expectation to go into the office. There will be occasional travel to one of their other offices once a month after things open up, all right? But this is a full-time position, so if this sounds like you or someone hey, make sure you reach out to me. Let me know, folks. I definitely want to hear an introduction from yourself. Now, just a heads up, if you are interested in this position, it does require secret level government clearance, right, from the government of Canada. So if you're overseas right now, or if you're new to Canada, unfortunately, I can't consider you for this position because you do have to be eligible for secret level government clearance. And in order to be eligible for that, you have to have lived in Canada 10 plus years consecutively or be a Canadian citizen, from what I understand. So in any case, even if you don't qualify, hey, reach out to me, folks. I'm always looking to meet with and connect with tech professionals in the field. Whatever your skill set is in tech, hey, I want to hear from you. I want to connect with you. I want to network with you. And I definitely want to see, want us to keep in touch so I can help you as I build out the recruitment side of my business as well. All right. So hope I get to hear from a couple of you in regards to that. Now, I also want to give you a heads up. I'm trying to kickstart my Tech Talk series as well. So next week I have a special guest joining me next week. I believe it's on Thursday. I have my friend Imal Bariali, who was a previous guest as well. We're going to be talking about business analysis. So that's next week, Thursday at 11 a.m. So mark your, I think it was Wednesday. So I think it was Wednesday at 11 a.m. So mark your calendars, folks. If you got an interest in business analysis or you're a business analyst, you want to talk about Agile, Imal, he says a lot of, somewhat controversial stuff about Agile, right? So if you're interested in hearing about what he says, make sure you tune in, folks, all right? So getting to today's topic, dealing with anxiety and stress, coping with stress and anxiety. Now, look, folks, if you're on the market for new job opportunities, right, and whether you're currently employed, you're unemployed, whatever your situation is, or maybe you're looking to make a move, you're currently employed, you're looking to make a move, you will undoubtedly experience various setbacks and barriers and things not going your way, rejections and all that stuff. And this is going to lead you to feeling, some stress and anxiety creeping in, especially when you got to think about, hey, you know what? I'm unemployed right now and I really need a job so I can, pay my bills, put food on the table and all that stuff. So, these feelings of stress and anxiety, folks, it's natural. It's going to occur. So first and foremost, if you're experiencing that, and by the way, I spoke about this in a previous stream as well last week, but if you're experiencing that, first of all, folks, it's completely normal, right? It's nothing for you to feel bad about. If you're feeling stress and anxiety, this will happen. But how do you overcome these setbacks? That's going to be the setback caused by the stress, this anxiety, and all this stuff. That's what I'm going to be focusing on in today's session. All right. So in the comments, I want you to let me know, how are you dealing with stress and anxiety as a job seeker? I definitely want to hear from you, and how you're dealing with the situation as a job seeker, right? Because everyone at some point in their job search is going to experience, these feelings, right? And this applies to, the stress and anxiety and depression you might feel from rejections, people ghosting you, recruiters ghosting you, whatever it is. So whatever you're feeling, it's completely normal. That's first and foremost what you gotta understand, right? But the problem occurs when you don't have really have the luxury to take some time out. So someone who's currently employed and they're job searching and they're feeling this stress and anxiety, hey, at the end of the day, they're employed. Maybe they can take a break from their job search. But for most of us, we don't have that luxury. We can't take, a week off or something, or 2 weeks off to deal with this whole, deal with ourselves, and then get back into our job search and then ultimately lose that momentum, right? Now, of course, if those of you watching, if any of you are experiencing serious mental health, anxiety and stress, if it's something serious, I'm not your guy, okay? I'm not a qualified mental health expert. So if that's you, hey, speak to an expert about that. That's not me. But for the rest of you folks, keep watching, keep tuning in. What I wanted to let you know is, a simple exercise you can do to get yourself back into a state of feeling in control and lessen those feelings of stress, anxiety, and self-doubt that might creep in. Now, my understanding of this whole stress and anxiety thing, folks, and this is based on my own experiences, the stress and anxiety is not directly related. I mean, yeah, it is definitely related to, feelings of rejection, not getting ahead in your job search, things not working out the way you want, and maybe things not going the way you want when you're not getting employment, you're not getting the job interviews, you're not able to pass the interviews, maybe recruiters are not responding to you, they're ghosting you, and a whole bunch of stuff happening. Yeah, there definitely is a direct response in relation to that, right? You're directly experiencing stress and anxiety as a result of that. But what I found, right, and digging deeper into this, as I, kind of investigated this whole phenomenon a bit further, what I found is why I'm really feeling stress and anxiety is because of the lack of control, right? We're feeling a lack of control. That is really the underlying cause of this stress and anxiety, because all those situations, people not getting back to you, rejections, employers are not interested in interviewing you, interviewers are not calling you back, They're not getting back to you when they say they would. They're ghosting you, all that stuff. If you really look at it, the real underlying cause of that stress and anxiety is we're putting the focus on these feelings of helplessness, lack of control. That is the real underlying cause of this stress and anxiety in most cases. All right. So what we really got to do is we got to see how we can put ourselves back into a state of control, right? Because if you can get yourself back into this a state of feeling in control, or having more control, or even exercising more control over whatever aspects, that's going to put you in a better state. That's going to feel lessen the weight of this stress and anxiety you might be feeling as a job seeker. Now the question is, how do you do that, right? How do you do that? How do you alleviate these feelings of stress and anxiety, and putting yourself back into a state of control? Definitely share in the comments, folks, what your thoughts are on this. I'm going to share my thoughts and a quick exercise you can do as a job seeker to help you do this. So here's an exercise, right? What I want you to do is take out a sheet of paper, and I want you to write down all of your current setbacks, right? All the setbacks, the rejections, things not working out, whatever the situation is, no matter how small it is, no matter how huge this incident was that occurred. I want you to actually write down all those situations, whatever it is, on that sheet of paper, right? So I'll share with you a few examples, right? You submitted an application or a resume to hundreds of jobs, but you're not getting responses. Okay, so that's one source of this stress and anxiety. What's another source? Another example would be can't get past the phone interview, right? You keep getting requests for phone interviews. You keep getting scheduled for phone interviews, but you're not getting any further than that. So number two would be maybe that's a source of stress and anxiety. What's another example? Can't get past the final interview, right? You keep going through interviews, you get to the final stage, you just can't get past the final interview stage. So that could be another one. Another one would be maybe salary negotiations, right? You just can't negotiate well. You keep getting lowballed. Employers keep lowballing you on your salary negotiations and all this stuff. So look, the point here is take that sheet of paper, folks. Whatever the issue is that's contributing to your stress and anxiety, I want you to write them out on the sheet of paper, all right? And I want you to list them out and write them out. Now, this is just the first part of this exercise. Now, for the next part, for each of the setbacks you're facing, I want you to write down what you can do to get more control over the outcome, or contribute more control over getting the result that you want for that particular barrier. All right. So the whole point of this is I want you putting the focus on things you do have control over in relation to whatever this setback is. Because what most of us are doing is we're focusing on the aspects we don't have control over, and that's what's creating this anxiety and the stress. All right, the underlying cause of this anxiety and stress. So again, you listed out all of those things that are contributing to your stress and anxiety right now. Okay, so no responses when you apply for jobs. Interviewers are not getting back to you. Maybe recruiters are ghosting you. People saying they're going to get back to you, they're not getting back to you. Maybe you can't get past the phone interview. Maybe you can't get past the final interview, whatever it is. All those reasons, you want to be listing those out, right? This is part of the exercise. And the next thing I want you to do is I want you to put the focus on, I'm going to help you now shift the focus on those aspects that you do have control over in relation to, these various scenarios. All right. So as a quick example, now let's say we go with the setback that, okay, you're submitting applications or you're submitting your resume to hundreds and hundreds of jobs, but not getting any response. All right. Now, in this scenario, let's put the focus on those aspects you do have control over. So what are some of the aspects you do have control over? Feel free to share in the comments as well. I'm going to share with you some quick examples here. And, before we get to that, I see we have a comment here. We got Sairam. Sairam says, hey, Dean, whenever the recruiter says we will come back to you, I motivate myself. A good job is waiting for you, better than this. All right. So Sairam is basically saying, hey, Dean, I maintain a positive attitude by telling myself, hey, even when this recruiter doesn't get back to me, there are better opportunities out there for me. There is another opportunity out there. So I think that's a great attitude to have, Sairam. Definitely something good that you need to keep in mind, right? Folks, when you face rejection, don't get stuck on this one rejection, right? Just like how Sairam, my friend Sairam here is saying, he's saying, hey, I don't get stuck on the recruiter not getting back to me. I always remind myself, Dean, that I have other opportunities out there. There are other opportunities out there. So I agree with you, Sairam. That's a great attitude to have. So folks, don't get stuck up on the rejection, right? So moving through with this exercise, folks, all right? What can you do? All right, so one of the situations is you're submitting your resume to hundreds of jobs, hundreds of applications out there, no responses. Now, What can you do about this situation? Let's put the focus on what you do have control over. Now, what are some things I do have control over if this is my situation? Well, I definitely have control over my resume, right? And I have to face the fact that maybe it's my resume. Maybe it's my resume causing this lack of responses from recruiters. So when people are not responding to me, what do I have control over? Well, I have control over my resume. So I want to focus on that. Now, what's another thing I have control over? Well, I have control over which opportunities I'm applying for, right? I also have control over which type of positions I want to put my focus on, right? What else do I have control over in this scenario? Well, I have control over how many positions that I'm applying to every day, or maybe every hour, whatever your strategy is. I also have control over, whether or not I follow up on these opportunities, right? So right there, I have control over like 5 things that I need to be putting my focus on, instead of simply the fact that, this organization or these organizations are not getting back to me. So what I'm saying here, folks, is instead of focusing on the fact that, hey, the organization is not getting back to me, let's put the focus on those things you do have control over in relation to whatever setback you're facing. So again, this setback, you're applying for jobs, you're not getting any responses. Okay, fine. You don't have control over that. But what do you have control over? Well, I have control over my resume. I have control over the types of positions I want to focus my attention on. I have control over the types of companies I want to apply for. I have control over the types of industries I want to research. I have control over whether I want to follow up. That's 5 things. 5 things I have control over, that I personally have control over, that I can work on, that I want to put my attention on, right? And if you put your attention on those things you do have control over, folks, you're going to feel that stress and anxiety start to alleviate. I'm not saying it's going to completely disappear. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if you put the focus on those things you do have control over, it's going to do you much more good than focusing on those things beyond your control. All right. So what's another example? Another example is maybe you can't get past the phone interview, right? The pre-screen. You're having difficulty. You're having trouble getting past the pre-screen. So what can you do? Now, instead of focusing on the fact that, oh my God, I keep getting phone interviews, I keep getting pre-screens, and I just never can get past these pre-screens. These companies are terrible, the recruiters are terrible, the hiring managers are terrible. So instead of getting, reacting in that way, folks, and by the way, it might be that the recruiters are not good, it might be that the hiring managers are not good. That's not the point here. The point here is it's not going to do you any good stressing over things you do not have control over. So in regards to the pre-screens, you're constantly unable to get past the pre-screen. What are some things you can do that you do have control over? Well, a couple of things come to mind. Number one is, I do have control over how much effort I put into preparing for the pre-screen, for the pre-interview. What else do I have control over? I have control over researching the company, right, as much as possible. So I'm able to convey an impression of someone who's highly interested in their organization. What else do I have control over on the pre-screen? Well, I have control over, if I know who's going to be on the call with me, I have control over researching the potential individual, or maybe a bunch of people that are going to be pre-screening me over the phone, and I can actually research them and have an understanding of them, and maybe even look for some common ground, right? Maybe some things in common. Or when I research them on LinkedIn, it gives me an idea of their perspective and what they might be asking me about on this pre-screen. I have control over that. And I also have control over making myself very, very familiar with the job description, analyzing the job description, and actually identifying what might be some potential areas, some potential challenges, some potential pain points this organization might be experiencing right now, which I can further open up the discussion for on the pre-screen, right? I have control over that. What else do I have control over? I have control over my attitude. I have control over my enthusiasm, my interest, my excitement, and I have control over my tone of voice, right? Because on the phone interview, on the pre-screen, your tone of voice is very important in order for you to convey your personality. Because unlike a video interview and a face-to-face interview, the body language aspect is missing, right? You can't convey your personality or your enthusiasm, your interest, your excitement, all that stuff. So on the phone interview, your tone of voice becomes even more important. And guess what? That is something I do have control over. So I'm going to focus on that. So right there, I think I think I listed out like eight or nine things right there, folks, that I do have control over in regards to pre-screens, right? So if I'm constantly facing, okay, I'm not getting past the pre-screen, I need to take a look at those things I do have control over, because focusing on the fact that, hey, these companies don't like me, or I'm not getting past the pre-screen, that is not going to do me any good. That's going to increase my levels of stress and anxiety. What's going to help alleviate the stress and anxiety is me taking note of, again, as you do this exercise, you need to be doing this, right? So as you're listing out these barriers you're facing, right, can't get past the pre-screen, underneath the barrier, you need to list what are the things you do have control over. Because I want you to focus, folks, on those things you do have control over. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but it's very important. Do not stress over things you do not have control over. All right. It's no use for me to stress out over things going on out there in the world right now, like COVID-19, the pandemic, and apparently crowded hospitals, people wearing masks, people not wearing masks. I'm just one person. If I start thinking about that stuff, it's going to increase my levels of anxiety. But what can I do as an individual, right? Myself. Well, I can, when I go out, I can be careful, right? I can wear a mask. I can respect, whatever laws and regulations are in place in my location. I can wash my hands, do all that stuff. And anyway, what I'm focusing on what I'm trying to say, folks, is I need to focus on what I can do to best control the situation as much as I can. All right. So focusing on those things that are beyond your control is going to increase your stress. Focusing on those things that you do have control over is going to help alleviate the stress a bit more. And the same thing applies to your job search and these various barriers, right? So that's another example. Now, what's another example is maybe your barrier is you can't get past the final interview, right? You cannot get past the final interview stage. You're like, Dean, I get interviews, I get the pre-screens, I do well, I go through the process, but as soon as I get to the final interview, I can't go beyond that stage. And it's frustrating. It's causing me stress. It's causing me anxiety. Now, again, folks, these are this in and of itself is maybe something that you might not have control over, right? Like things such as the interviewer is not liking you, they don't feel you have the right, skills and all that stuff. Hey, maybe those are things that you do not have control over. But what you want to do is, again, staying with this exercise, folks, you want to focus on those things you do have control over. Now, again, in regards to this example, you can't get past the final interview stage. What are some things you do have control over? Well, a couple of things come to mind, again, in this situation. I do have control over asking more questions and further probing, investigating, uncovering whether or not I'm the right fit, right? Maybe asking more questions. I have control over preparing good questions to ask at the final interview, right? So I can display and demonstrate whether or not I'm the person they should be hiring. And I can also ask questions to help uncover whether there are some unspoken or hidden concerns the hiring team might have about me. I do have control over that. I also have control over developing a strategy and asking, again, those relevant questions to accomplish this, right? What else do I have control over? I have control over finding out if there's any patterns between all of these final interviews that are resulting in me not getting selected as a final candidate. I also have control over how many opportunities I want to have in my pipeline, so I'm not dependent on one or two opportunities getting to the final interview stage and then not getting selected for the interview. So the point here, folks, is you want to put your focus on those things you do have control over, right? A lot of you are experiencing stress and anxiety, and I speak from experience, by the way, as someone who has worked, who has been a job seeker. When I'm feeling stress and anxiety, it's usually because I'm taken aback by those things that I do not have control over. And that's why a lot of you are stressed out. You're feeling anxious as a job seeker because you're looking at those things head on that you feel like you don't have any control over, right? Applying for jobs, submitting your application, you're not getting any responses. You're going for interviews, you're not getting selected. You have conversations with recruiters, they're not getting back to you, they're ghosting you, stuff like that. And I'm not saying any of that stuff is fair, and I'm not saying any of that stuff is right. But what I'm saying here, folks, is not going to do you any good focusing on things you do not have control over. So by shifting the focus, so in this exercise, what I want you to do, again, list out all of these barriers and these issues and these problems and challenges you're facing. And underneath each one, I want you to list out, like, right, bullet point by bullet point, I want you to list out in relation to this problem, whatever it is that you're facing, what are the aspects you do have control over? That's what you need to be listing out. And that's what you need to be focusing on. That's gonna help alleviate your stress, your anxiety, and all that stuff as you're going through with your job search, right? So look, I hope this exercise helped you folks out in helping to deal with this stress and anxiety that you might be feeling. And if there's any questions, by the way, I don't see any questions, but if you have any questions, definitely feel free to put it in the comments. And I just want to give you, remind you folks, hey, hit me up with a like and make sure you share this session if you found it helpful and insightful. So anyone in your network might benefit from this as well. And also, just to give you a heads up, if you're applying for jobs, if one of your biggest problems is you're applying for jobs, you're not getting any responses, make sure, if you haven't done so already, sign up for my masterclass. I talk about why this is happening, and the 3-step process you need to be utilizing in your job search to help deal with this. So check out my masterclass. It's free access, right? Get it at dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass, dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass. Again, dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass. Now, for those of you already on the masterclass, you're like, Dean, I'm already on the masterclass, I know what you cover in that. Then, hey, get on the course, folks. Stop procrastinating. Get on the course right now. It's $97 Canadian. My course is Applying to Jobs Online 101, and I teach you the 3-step process in more detail on how you need to be approaching your job search. Applying for jobs and waiting for a response is not a winning strategy, folks, right? So in my course, I go into detail in teaching you the 3-step process in detail over a 3 to 4 hour. It's a 3 to 4 hour total program where I go into detail on how you need to be approaching your job search. Right now, it's $97 Canadian. It's on special pricing. And I'm right now throwing in a private Facebook group access where you can ask me your questions throughout the week. And I'm also doing a weekly group Zoom call. So you get a live Zoom call where you can join in. You can ask me your questions live regarding the course material or anything that you're experiencing in your job search that you want to ask me directly. I'm throwing that in. I'm including that as part of the program right now, right? As part of the package. So more details on that, check it out at dkglobaltalent.com/get interviews. dkglobaltalent.com/get interviews, dkglobaltalent.com/get interviews. Hope to see you on the course. All right. So I think we have some questions here. So Amruta says, when the recruiter asks, what is your expectations? Do I have to tell them my salary expectation and give them the exact figure, or should I ask them, what is the company ready to offer me? Yeah. So Amruta, so 2 scenarios here, right? If you're talking about a staffing agency recruiter, it's more flexible, right? Because you'll be able to have a very transparent conversation about them regarding your expectations and also what their client is willing to offer. All right. So if it's a staffing agency recruiter, it's fine. It's fine either way. Like, you can let them know, unless there's a big disconnect between what you're looking for and what the client is offering. All right. So even in that case, yeah, maybe it might be more to your advantage, Amruta, if you ask the recruiter to share the client's budget first and foremost. So you can, and before you even get to that, you need to first establish whether the role is a good mutual fit. A lot of you, the mistake you're making is you're going right into talking about your salary expectations and negotiations and all that stuff, and only to find out that the role isn't even the right fit. So first and foremost, Amruta, my suggestion to you is, if the recruiter starts asking for you up front about, hey, what's your salary expectation and blah, 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 and all that stuff, what you want to do is you want to let the recruiter know, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Recruiter, I'm definitely happy to discuss with you my salary expectation. But before we go there, I want to establish that this is a good mutual fit. So let's first establish and discuss the role in detail first. And after that, beyond that point, I'm certainly happy to discuss, the salary expectation and all that stuff. So after it's established that, yes, this is a role that you're interested in, Amruta, you want to do the preemptive strike. You want to ask the recruiter, what the salary budget or whatever it is that their client is having. Now, if it's a corporate recruiter, my suggestion, Amruta, is I would suggest that you ask them what their client's budget is or what their hiring team is looking to offer first and foremost. Because otherwise, if you present a figure at your end that's too much of a disconnect between what they're looking for and what you're looking for, then they might not consider you for the role, right, at all. So if it's a corporate recruiter, I definitely recommend you ask them for what they're looking to offer upfront first and foremost, right? Of course, after you establish that there's a good mutual fit, after you discuss the details of the role. But if it's a staffing agency, you get a little bit of leeway there, and then the discussion is more open, because they'll tell you, hey, you know what you're asking for is not really, might be too much for what my client's looking for. This is what they're offering, and you can have that discussion. But a corporate recruiter, they might right away decide, hey, there's too much of a disconnect here, and we're not going to consider this individual for the role. So hope that helps, Amruta. Great question there. Looks like there's no more questions, right? So I'm going to end the session then, folks, if there's no other questions. So again, see you tomorrow. So again, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, I'm right here, folks, to help you folks out with job search tips and advice, to help you folks out in your job search, right? So hope you take this information, apply to your job search, and hope it helps you folks out, all right? So I'll see you again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, to help you folks out with your job search, all right? So Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. Make sure you tune in, folks, and I'll be right here to help you out, all right? So take care, everyone, and see you tomorrow. And shout out to everyone on Instagram as well who tuned in. Take care, everyone.